Beautiful day in New York and at Citi Field in Queens. It is game 2 of this 4-game set between the Rockies and the New York Mets. The Rockies are 4-0 against the Mets this year, and yesterday they snapped a 10-game Citi Field losing streak. It's a big weekend at Citi Field. Number 31, commemorating, of course, the great career of Mike Piazza, now the Hall of Fame career, as last weekend he went into Cooperstown, and this weekend he will have his jersey retired on Sunday. And as good as the Mets have been at times in their history, they've only retired a couple of numbers. Casey Stengel, Jackie Robinson, of course, and Tom Seaver, the only ones to have their numbers retired, and 31 will join that group this weekend. Charlie Blackmon is going to lead things off for the Rockies, trying to get hot again. Here's the Southwest batting order for the Rockies. We'll tell you off the top, David Dahl was not in the original lineup. Walt wanted to give him a day off against the left-hander Mets. Ryan Rayburn was in there, but he has a knee contusion, and that prevented him from going today. It's a late scratch. So it'll be DJ Nolan, Cargo, Trevor Story. Mark Reynolds was hitting 7th. He slides to 6th. Dahl will hit behind him. And then Hundley and Tyler Chatwood against the New York native who grew up a Mets fan on Long Island, Steven Matz.
Well, Matz ended up being the 999th player ever to be a New York Met. Kind of wish he was number 1,000. That would have been a sweeter number. 999 is pretty good. This guy has great stuff. Fastball ranges up in the high 90s. Great secondary pitches. If you look at the secondary pitches and whiff rates in baseball, he ranks up there. So he's able to throw strikes with them. More importantly, he will command the strike zone on both sides of the plate.
And he's got, like so many of these Mets starters, he has a big arm. I mean, his opening fastball at 94. And this ball's hit hard but foul, and it's 0-2 on Charlie. That fastball at 95. He's really interesting in that he, as we said, grew up on Long Island, and he was kind of a late bloomer. And then all of a sudden he got everybody's attention. He was the Suffolk County Player of the Year, Long Island Player of the Year. This ball's looped to left, and it's a base hit, so a good start for Blackmon and the Rockies. And Steven Matz was a second-round pick. Shortly after he signed, he felt something in his elbow, and yeah, was that something? He had Tommy John surgery, so he was in the 09 draft class, Billy. Did not throw his first professional pitch to 2012. So a lot of folks had forgotten about him in baseball.
There's a moment, his first major league start, not only did he go 7 2/3, he went 3 for 3 with 4 RBIs. That hadn't been done since Dwight Gooden years before him. Matz does have quality stuff. He has been susceptible to the home run to right-handers, and he's given up more home runs at Citi Field than on the road. But out of 11 games start, he's given 2 runs or less.
DJ squared around, then pulled it back. And in this park, as you said, along with a few others in baseball, Dodger Stadium at times, AT&T Park in San Francisco, not a bad thing to play for 1 run. There's so many low-scoring games. Rockies prevailed just 2-1 yesterday. They've won a couple in a row when scoring less than 3 runs or less, which is really unusual for Colorado in their history. Double play depth, conventional double play depth up the middle for LeMahieu. And that's on the inside corner. At the knees, 1-2.
DJ truly is a remarkable player. 326 batting average against left-handers, 324 batting average against right. Doesn't matter at all to him.
No, Matz pitched last year. He retained his rookie status, and this is on the ground to third. There's one, and DJ beat the return throw. So LeMahieu got up the line, and he trades places with Blackmon. Mets defensively are playing Ioannis Cespedes. It's a question mark because he's battled a quad injury, was not in the starting lineup yesterday. He's in left field, not in center. Michael Conforto will play center. And Curtis Granderson's over in right. Flores, Cabrera, Neil Walker, James Loney in the infield. And though Rene Reyes was great yesterday behind the plate, swinging the bat, it's Travis d'Arnaud who's doing the catching this evening.
That's the guy that they want to be the guy for the Mets, and Travis d'Arnaud. His brother Chase d'Arnaud we saw with Atlanta a week ago. Utility infielder and singer.
Dougie did that great interview with him. He also swung the bat pretty well against the Rockies
swung it really well.
Well, Nolan's in a little bit of a funk. He's been diving at the baseball. So one of the things that he's been working on with Blake Doyle is to stay tall and to not, he's so aggressive. You get head movement, as you know, Spilly. I'll let you break it down when you start diving at the baseball.
Yesterday, he popped up to the infield, or an infielder 4 times, which is probably has to be a record.
Runner going, and it's a straight steal, and DJ swipes second base. 9th stolen base for LeMahieu.
The Rockies don't steal bases too often, and over the course of this year, the stolen base percentages have gone up. They're picking better chances to run, and DJ gets a good jump. Asdrubal Cabrera upset. That was Neil Walker upset. He wasn't able to make the tag, but I don't think DJ is out even if he gets the tag on him with the ball in his glove. But going back to Nolan, it's not often you see a hitter pop up to the infield 4 times. And what part of the reason why, and when Blake Doyle is trying to get Nolan to stand up and stay on the backside, it'll even out your swing path. So you're of late, because Nolan's on his front foot and swinging so hard down on the baseball, he's creating a really steep angle to the ball. And when you're mishitting balls, it'll pop them straight up.
2 outs, a runner at third for Cargo. And that 2-1 victory, the comeback in the 9th inning yesterday. Cargo was 1 for 4. He's got a 10-game hitting streak going. And that's off the plate away. Cargo has never faced Steven Matz because Steven Matz has never faced the Rockies. Big opening up the middle. And that is outside, 2-0. It's interesting how the Mets play Cargo, because Cargo hits so many balls just to the right of second base, and that's the place they're really not defending.
I haven't seen this defense at all versus Cargo, and trying to understand why.
There's a base hit left center field. It'll be a gapper. The Rockies take a 1-0 lead. Cargo into second with a double. And a great start for the Rockies here in Queens.
It didn't matter where the shift was. That ball was going in the gap, and DJ LeMahieu taking that extra base, running in front of, stealing. You're able to score a run, put some pressure on the defense, but more importantly, Cargo. We hadn't seen him drive a ball opposite field in a couple days, and that pitch right where he likes it, up and away from him, able to give the Rockies a 1-0 lead.
And Spilly, you point this out a lot. He didn't float with that front foot there, did he?
Not at all. He was able to stay back, and that was something we noticed yesterday. Whenever we know that Carlos Gonzalez is falling on the front foot, whenever we see it with Nolan Arenado, you have a sense that it's going to be difficult to compete at the major league level. As we're paying attention, watch how he's able to hold that leg in body position enough that his head doesn't move quite as much. On the Subaru Supermo, you see how that barrel goes all the way through the plane of the strike zone. It's a great swing.
Story with 2 outs. Another breaking ball, and it's 2-0 on Trevor. Story slugging .573. He had a couple hits yesterday, scored a run in the 9th inning, the run that tied it up. Huge stolen base in the 9th inning yesterday for Trevor. Walt Weiss was asked today by a New York writer about Story and if he thought that he would continue in his career to be a guy that hit home runs. And Walt said absolutely. He said he has a great approach. It's not like he's going to BP and he's trying to hit the ball in the second deck. He said, but the ball, one of those guys, it's a cliche, but the ball sounds different coming off his bat. And because of that, that's strike two, because of that, there are going to be balls that are squared up that go over the fence just because of the bat speed he creates.
You look at baseball and you look at a guy like Jose Altuve. Altuve is 5'6", 150 pounds, and he has career highs in home runs this year. Part of the reason why he squares up the baseball. Size and strength doesn't correlate to the amount of home runs you hit. The ability to put the bat and square it up on the baseball correlates to the home runs. And I think Trevor is going to continue to get better as he recognizes and sees many more major leaguers at this level.
2 outs, Cargo at second, 1-0 Colorado, 3-2 on Story. Just couldn't be more impressed with how Trevor has not only kept his discipline throughout the season, but you're going to always have rough patches, but he's been so steady in his rookie year at the highest level there is.
Amazing. Dealing with everything he's dealt with this season with Jose Reyes and Tulo.
Center field, and Conforto misread it initially. He comes back in, makes a catch. Great start for the Rockies. 2-out double by Cargo. Drives in DJ LeMahieu, and the Rockies have a 1-0 lead for Tyler Chatwood. Back to Flushing Meadows after this. Mats, and now they'll hand the baseball to Tyler Chatwood, who comes in 5-0 on the road with a 1.30 road ERA. It's the best in baseball, as we were discussing a few moments back. Curtis Granderson back in the leadoff spot tonight. He was batting second yesterday, struck out 3 times in that ball game on Thursday. Here's the Southwest batting order for Terry Collins, Travis d'Arnaud, Yoenis Cespedes. He's the big bat in their lineup with 22 home runs. James Loney, Neil Walker in the middle, Wilmer Flores, Asdrubal Cabrera. Michael Conforto is batting 8th in front of Mats. And the first pitch from Chatwood misses. And that pitch is off the plate. A lot of movement on that sinker. I think it's really important as you look at that arsenal. You know it's going to be a 2-seamer the majority of the time. It's so important for him to throw strikes early to erase the memories of his last outing, and he starts out 3-0. That's not good.
Not good at all, but for Tyler Chatwood and any pitcher with the type of movement that he has, nearly a 60% ground ball rate, he of all pitchers can get away with it because he can induce a double play. But he has been living on the edge with the fastball command, and at times his secondary pitches, he can't even get to him because he's constantly behind in the count.
3-1, and it's popped foul 3-2. Well, in the 18 innings that he has pitched since coming off the disabled list with the back issue, he has walked 17.
That's way too high of a number. But I appreciated the last start, even though he gave up 8 walks. Steve Foster allowed him to just kind of grind it out on the mound. You didn't see constant talks between Steve Foster and Nick Hundley. They just left him out there and they let him work it out. Hopefully that helped him out for this start tonight.
Well, Steve told us before the ball game, Foster, that he had not a good side session, a great side session, and he ends up walking Granderson to lead things off. Said his side session in between starts was really, really good.
Already we're noticing that the Mets' approach tonight is going to be, let's see him throw strikes.
You got to after you read where a guy walked 8.
You may not see a Mets hitter swing until they get to 2 strikes. And that was an approach the Rockies and myself took with Brandon Webb, another guy that had a fantastic 2-seam fastball. We would sit there and wait till he got to 2 strikes and then swing. Majority of the time you were in a 3-2 count and he was out of the game by 4 innings.
And a first pitch strike to d'Arnaud.
There was no intent by Travis d'Arnaud to swing at that pitch.
He would have been severely reprimanded had he fired at that first pitch, I would assume.
Rightfully so. He would have deserved it. We would have yelled at him from up here.
See if the Rockies can turn it over. There's one on the first double play. That's the beauty of having a guy that induces 58% of the time a ground ball.
That's why when I look at it, and as much as he's spraying the baseball all over the place, he can get away with it because of that number. The ability to induce double plays. And granted, he's had a lot of opportunities with the amount of walks he's given up.
Crowd reacting to Cespedes coming up. Cespedes pinch hit last night. An interesting situation. Terry Collins was asked about it a couple of different ways in the post game yesterday. Why did he pinch hit Cespedes for DeGrom with runners at second and third? In that you had to figure the Rockies were just going to pass on him, load up the bases, force all around, not even deal with Cespedes. He said, we knew that. We just wanted to, we figured we had to fire that cannon there and, you know, have the top of the lineup come up. That's how he answered the question. You know, everybody's always second guessed in baseball, especially in New York. They were wondering, well, maybe you can save it for later on because there's a chance later in the ballgame you're going to need another pinch hitter, which they did. Here's the 1-1, and it's fisted at the first baseman Reynolds. Good feed to Chatwood, and it turns into a very efficient inning despite the walk to Granderson. We'll go to frame number 2. The Rockies leading 1-0. Mark Reynolds looking forward to facing Steven Matz. Rockies up 1-0. Cargo double in DJ LeMahieu in the first. In the air down the right field line. No play for anybody but that fan right there.
And
Good
he made
play.
it with the David Wright awesome shirt.
He's got his teammates with him. Got a baby. Good play. Inside with the heater at 94. Yeah, there are 15 players all time that were born on Long Island that have played for the Mets. And interesting, 12 have been pitchers. That's fouled off. And having grown up in this area, typically, there's a lot of Yankees fans from way back. Typically, though, Long Island leans heavily toward Mets, Jets.
Okay.
Westchester, Rockland County, where Walt's from. Did he hold up? Yep. Alan Porter says no swing. Lean toward Yankees, Giants, football Giants.
Where's the exact line in the sand? Is it while we're driving towards Manhattan? Is there a spot where it totally transfers over?
No, there's not a definitive line. But typically, folks on Long Island, if James Loney's going to have a play, root for the Mets. Doesn't say there's not a lot of Yankees fans. Obviously, there's a lot of Yankees fans on Long Island.
Who's your favorite? Because I know you grew up a Mets fan, and so did Doug Marino.
Yeah.
And by the way, that's now 7 for the last 42 for Mark Reynolds. It's well below 171. Favorite Mets fan? Favorite Mets player? Pitcher?
Favorite Mets fan or favorite Mets player?
Yeah, the favorite Mets fan is the kid that just caught that baseball.
Yeah, absolutely. Made a nice play.
Favorite Mets player?
That's easy. Tom Seaver. Here's David Dahl getting his first action against a left-handed pitcher. Dahl hit .316 this year between Hartford and Albuquerque, left on left. Great improvement from a year ago. And he has a 4-game hitting streak, batting .333 coming in. And he's getting more and more comfortable. He had the home run in Baltimore a couple of days ago. Yesterday, a couple of hits and a big walk in the 9th inning.
Huge walk and laid off some really difficult pitches from Jeurys Familia. This kid has impressed me. It is interesting for him today, though, because it wasn't a scheduled day off, but he knew he had off, and so you do all your extra work, your extra running. Obviously, Rayburn was a late scratch. So his routine again, he hasn't quite had a legitimate day in, day out routine.
That tells me he's getting more comfortable that he laid off that pitch right there. It's a pitcher's pitch up in the strike zone. Now he works at full 3-2.
And the splits for Steven Matz, it's basically .258 batting average for lefties, .257 batting average for righties. On-base percentage and slugging are about the same as well.
This ball bounced up the middle off the mound. That'll be another hit. It's a 5-game hitting streak. So Steven Matz gives up the single to Dahl with 1 out, and that'll bring up Hundley.
That's why putting the baseball in play is so important. You never know what can happen. Ball hit back to Steven Matz, who's a great athlete. See the speed of David Dahl. No one was going to be able to catch him.
And where that ball was going to end up, it was going to have to be played by Walker on his backhand, throwing across his body. And to your point, the way Dahl runs, he may have been hard-pressed to get him, even if Matz didn't redirect it. Hundley's been swinging it well. Takes a strike on the inside corner. Home plate umpire tonight is Chris Caccione. At first base, Alan Porter, Jeff Kellogg, the crew chiefs at second, and Jonathan Payne is at third. Hundley had a nice series in Baltimore.
Well, even though Nick was only with Baltimore for a couple months, I still consider those revenge at bats.
Hit that huge home run when Dylan Bundy was throwing aspirin. Hit it on a 1-2 pitch. It was a changeup. Just changed the whole feel in the ballpark. The whole atmosphere changed when he went deep. Bundy was perfect for 5 1/3. And then a walk, and that happened.
Just let the air out of Orioles Park. That was hit a long way.
Mayhew stole a base last inning. Now Matt's paying particular attention to David Dahl. Eric Young counsels Dahl. Two and one. Billy, when a first base coach repeatedly comes over, what information is he dispensing?
He may be reminding David Dahl what the tell is for Steven Matz. We saw DJ last inning get a great read and steal a base. So maybe it's a head nod, maybe it's a timing 1001, 1002 go. The occasional reminder, nothing's on. It's also the comfort of knowing that you have, this is only his first week in the big leagues. You're all right. Nope.
Line drive, get down. Nope. He hit it too well. Nick Huntley, a line shot right at Granderson, 2 outs. That'll bring up Chatwood. Fans, if the Rockies score 7 runs or more, go to participating Colorado Taco Bell locations the following day. Do it between 4 and 6 to get your Rockies taco special. Runners have had a lot of success against Matz this year, even though he's left-handed. With the stolen base by LeMahieu, they're 16 of 21. The Rockies and other teams have noticed something. They're not going to run here with Chatwood at the plate. Take strike one.
If you are going to try to take the extra base, it has to be a dirt ball read. Reason why, as Drew mentioned, you don't run with the pitcher with 2 outs just because you don't want the pitcher leading off next inning. You'd like to be able to turn over the lineup.
That's a fair ball. James Loney steps on the bag, and that's all for the Rockies. The second, Dahl, who had an infield hit, is left aboard. 1-0, middle of 2.
Rocks as we go bottom 2. A couple of updates for you. You heard about Ryan Rayburn being scratched from the starting lineup. He was actually shagging flies during BP. A ball hits him in the left knee. He's got a contusion. Keith Duggar said he should be available off the bench, but that's why he was scratched. I talked to Blake Doyle, the Rockies hitting instructor. He said about Matt's lefties are going to try to keep off that ball inside, try to get him to go outside. The righties expect a lot of off-speed stuff from Matz. Watch that as we go on. Adam Ottavino knows Steven Matz. He's from Brooklyn. They were throwing partners, so he's got a little bit of a book on him. And also Otto, of course, a native New Yorker. We were talking Yankees, Mets guys. He's a Yankees fan growing up, but he did say that he loved Edgardo Alfonso in 2000 when he was like a sophomore in high school, and that Mets team was so good. That was his favorite guy.
Edgardo Alfonso is one of those under the radar terrific players. He could really hit.
That was a great team. 2001, my favorites, with Roberto Alomar, John Olerud, John Franco.
Some crusty veterans on that team, huh?
I like the crusty vets.
James Loney takes ball 1, leading off here in the second. And the first look at a curveball misses, 2-0. Loney's not crusty, but he's a vet now, 32.
Loney, one of only 5 active players with 9 RBIs in a baseball game. This ball's really pretty far.
Deep right, Cargo leaps, can't get it. Tie ball game. First road home run allowed by Chatwood all year. Well, he didn't take the strike on 2-0.
No, and he shouldn't. That's what you're trying to do. You know eventually Tyler Chatwood's going to be able to throw the strike. Fastball center cut. James Loney, even though he doesn't have a lot of home runs, over 100 career, he's able to run into him occasionally.
He becomes the last starting pitcher, does Chatwood, in Major League Baseball that has thrown a significant number of innings to give up a home run on the road. And now Neil Walker dumps a single to left. Flores coming up. Another big crowd here tonight. They've been energized by this swing by James Loney.
Cargo gave a great effort on the Subaru Supermo. Let's see how close he is. Close enough.
Ball and a strike on Flores. Nobody out and a run in. Walker at first. And 1-2. Strikeout of Flores. 1 out. First strikeout for Chatwood. That'll bring up the shortstop as Drubo Cabrera. We haven't looked at the Rockies on defense. Mark Reynolds is at first base tonight. He's joined in the infield naturally by LeMahieu, Story, and Arenado. Dahl was going to watch the first part of this ball game. Rayburn was in the original lineup in left. Knee contusion, scratched. Blackman and Cargo out there with Hundley doing the catching. Good job again last night by Tony Walters. Cabrera swings through a 93-mile-an-hour fastball.
Now we're watching the Mets as Tyler Chatwood's starting to harness his fastball, that they're going to start being aggressive against the fastball. So the next adjustment for Tyler is going to be to throw those secondary pitches earlier in the count.
Two-time All-Star is Drupal Cabrera, 2011, 2012. You wouldn't say, even though Chatwood's working ahead here, you still wouldn't say the command's there.
No, not at all. I don't think Chatwood was going up in the zone, and even in the last at-bat to Wilmer Flores, Nick Hundley wanted the sinker down and in to try to induce that double play, and it's a good miss because you get the swing and miss above the belt.
Sinker in. And that was a 3-foot miss also. Mark Reynolds makes the catch. 2 outs.
And oftentimes when you see a pitcher missing location arm side and up, it just means they're not getting on top of the baseball. And any pitching coach that you talk to, you'll hear about them wanting the pitcher to reach out in front. Try to touch the play. Try to reach down like you're picking up coins on the ground to get on top of the baseball. And oftentimes you'll see a catcher, without having to say that to the pitcher, make him throw an off-speed pitch, make him throw a curveball, make him throw a slider to get on top of the baseball to really yank it down.
Out of the 8-hole is Michael Conforto. There's a curveball trying to get it down, you were suggesting, but the release point is up.
We may see Nick Hundley try again, just to try to get that good feel for Chatty to get on top of the baseball.
Nowhere close, 2-0. Conforto got off to a good start this year and then just was awful in May and June and was sent back to AAA. 278 since he's returned. Here's the 2-0, and that's 3-0. That's what we were talking about. Great April. 365, 4 home runs, 18 RBIs, and then it fell apart. A 4-pitch walk, and that'll move Walker to second. It'll bring up the pitcher Matz with 2 outs. Second walk allowed by Chatwood. And Matt's a good athlete.
Yeah, he is.
Can't fall asleep on him at the plate. Rockies got burned in that Baltimore series, giving up an RBI single with 2 outs to a pitcher. Not the Baltimore series, but the previous series.
Braves series.
Baltimore, I don't think was going to throw their pitcher out there, but it was Matt Whistler.
Matt Whistler got him. Well, 156 batting average for Steven Matz this season. Last year he hit 286.
And he had that 3-hit, 4 RBI debut.
That was pretty much all of his hits in 2015.
Good pickup.
Missing down now.
It's like an overcompensation.
And sometimes that's what guys do. And anytime you start losing mechanics, it's the exact same thing as with hitting. It's a timing. It's whether your arm isn't getting all the way back, your front side, your front elbow isn't getting up to the normal position to pull down. Same with hitting. You lose the mechanics of your natural rhythm, and it's hard to find the strike zone.
look at that Subaru strike zone. It's not like they're near misses. 3-1. Granderson on deck. 2 outs. The runners will be moving. Walker at second, Conforto at first. In a 1-1 game in the second. Missed.
Like I mentioned from the last start that Tyler Chatwood had, Steve Foster did not run out to the mound too often. He understands that Tyler knows what's going on. He knows what mechanical adjustment he needs to make to get on top of the baseball.
Granderson walked in the bottom of the first inning. And he tried a curveball and missed. So it's 11 walks in the last 6 2/3 for Tyler Chatwood. 2-0. Probably got to get somebody up now because this is between his ears. This isn't about mechanics. This is now a mental thing. Chris Russin will be the guy that gets the phone call.
Yep.
That was a borderline pitch as well. Popped him up. What a break. 3 guys converging. And it'll be Story. That is an enormous break. As Chatwood in a rough place, but it's a 1-1 game. Is brought to you by Subaru. Love, it's what makes a Subaru a Subaru. By CenturyLink, your link to what's next. And by Reserve Casino, I-70 West to exit 243 in Central City. Friday night in Manhattan, and we're across the way in Queens. So 1-1 ball game as the Rockies left the top of the order in the top of the third with Ryan Spilborghs and Mark Stout. I'm Drew Goodman, and as promised, we're joined by a stat analyst extraordinaire and a writer, Mike Petriello. And Mike, I follow you. I'll tell everybody he's a great follow on Twitter right now, especially if you love the game of baseball and you love not only the analytics side, but some of the other numbers. It's not always stuff that'll water your eyes over, but you take up some interesting stuff.
Yeah, we try to. I mean, so I work mostly with StatCast. So you've probably heard a lot about exit velocity. That's spin rate. You can measure how hard a guy throws the baseball in the outfield, how fast he runs. It's really putting numbers to things you've always been able to see with your eyes. It's really, I think, an interesting way to look at it.
Absolutely.
As Mike walked up into the booth, Mike carried with him this laptop computer that has the current data for everything going on in our game today. And this is essentially the holy grail to anybody that's an analytics guy.
Are you jealous?
I am extremely jealous. I was jealous when I saw your notebook today, I gotta admit it. How many people actually get to see this notebook computer and watch it from your real time?
That is down the line, and then it helps out that it kicks off that short wall, and it's a lead double for Charlie Blackmon, and Charlie's 2 for 2.
Charlie was struggling at Citi Field prior to tonight. And you look at his approach, lefty on lefty. As I mentioned earlier, the splits against Steven Matz about equal. Lefties and righties hit him about the same. Wanted to get the ball outside. That's what Mark Stout said in his hit. Nice hit, Mark. Fastball down the left field line, standing on second. So I want to get back to your notebook computer.
Yeah.
How many people get to see this?
It's a web page, so obviously there's some people in my office, a couple dozen, and then the teams themselves have access to all this stuff. So we don't really tell them internally like what they're supposed to do with the numbers. Each of the 30 teams gets access, and they can do whatever they please with it.
Spin rate's a relatively new term, and I know a lot of pitching coaches. I know the Rockies buy in. When you see a guy with high velocity, does he always have high spin rate or higher spin rate than the average guy?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And the answer is not always. I remember last season we looked at Dylan Betances, throws really, really hard, and Chris Young, really doesn't. Very similar spin rates. And, it's within a guy's own individual repertoire. As he throws harder, the spin rate will go up, but it's not across different guys. It's always going to be a one-to-one relationship, if that makes sense.
Clayton Kershaw has one of the best curveballs in the game. Does his spin rate on his curveball, is it greater than most everybody else's?
Yeah, you're absolutely asking the right question. He does not have the highest spin rate. It's very good. But what I think he has is the most useful spin rate. And what I mean by that is it's all going in the right direction, kind of a 12 to 6 on the clock. Some guys kind of waste it a little bit, don't use all of it if it's maybe on a diagonal tail. I think he just has the most perfect spin, and he gets the most out of it.
Blackmon takes off for third. Throw's not going to get him. Billy, real quick, from a player's standpoint, swiping third against a lefty is one of the easier things to do for a good base runner.
For a good base runner, and we've mentioned already, that's a 17th stolen base off Steven Matz. He's a high leg kick. He predetermines what he's going to throw. He only looks back once, and so Charlie knows the cadence of it. Puts yourself in a great position now to score at least one run.
Now, do you want to know what went to that steal? Because we actually have numbers on all of that stuff right here.
Of course.
Well.
Absolutely. That's why you're here. Fire away, Mike.
Travis d'Arnaud, it looked like his arm strength is about 74 miles an hour. Now, usually when I see catchers throwing guys out, it's 80, 81, 82. So it looks like that wasn't maybe the best throw in the world, but it looks like he actually had a pretty good pop time, which means that the quickness with which he received the ball and got rid of the ball was above average. So it's interesting to see different things guys are good at.
Well, Drew, this is my last broadcast. Mike is your new partner.
We talk so frequently, it used to be that the catcher got all the blame or all the credit if the stolen base rate against him was good or bad. And truth be told, so much of the equation has to do with the guy who's on the hill.
It's everything. You're right. Obviously, the catcher's got to have a good arm, a good throwing arm, but the pitcher's got to get rid of the ball. It's also how far off the base is the runner. Is he 10 feet off? Is he 15 off? How fast does he run? We can measure all that. So my dream, and it's going to take a little bit, is to come up with an all-inclusive stolen base metric that says 10% of it's the catcher, 30% of it's the pitcher, the rest of it's the runner, whatever those numbers might be.
2-2 on LeMahieu. Good swing there. Pop time, real quick, because you mentioned pop time. There are catchers who have howitzers who don't have good pop times, and they're guys that have, by big league standards, average arms behind the plate, but their footwork and their quickness in getting rid of the baseball is so good that their pop time is excellent.
Hey, that's absolutely right. And I'm working on a theory here just from what I've been looking at. I don't think there's a huge spread in catcher throwing arms. Pretty much every time I see a successful throw, it's in that 79 to 82 mile an hour range. It's not a big spread. It's not like pitchers where you'll see fastballs that are 15 miles apart. So I really think it's going to be a lot less about the catchers than we think it is. Obviously, no matter how hard you throw it, it's got to be accurate.
Obviously, DJ LeMahieu's at the plate, and I had you dig up some information on DJ that I thought was fascinating. Obviously, he's 4th in baseball with the batting average. You go over the numbers on the screen.
Yeah, you wouldn't believe this. 100 mile an hour off the bat, it's really good. As a sport, baseball hits about 600, 610 when they hit the ball 100 miles an hour.
Really?
Right. So it's one of the best things you can do. And look at these names, right? Cabrera, Trumbo, Donaldson. I mean, these are superstar power hitters.
DJ tied for 4th?
Yeah. I think there's only 2 more guys who have 100 this year. And he's up there, which is shocking. And that is not something I think is influenced by Coors Field. That's just him making solid contact. I think he just hits it on the ground a lot. That's why you're not seeing huge power numbers.
Well, you're seeing a terrific average, clearly. Listen, we've watched DJ obviously every day, and we know he's had a tremendous season. For us, bias aside, one of the most underrated players in the National League. Yet even that graphic, well, I did see it early, truth be told, but it shocked me.
Yeah, my friend Darren Woolman, friend and colleague, dug that up, and I couldn't believe it when I saw it either. And as soon as I saw it, I knew I had to send it to you guys because it's shocking to me. And that's what's kind of fun about it is you learn new things about guys you may not have thought about before. Like last year, we talked a lot about Randall Grichuk from St. Louis because he just hits the ball so damn hard, and we're seeing that about LeMahieu this year.
Well, one of the things about StatCast, and I have to give you praise, you wrote in a great article last year that was talking about Marcell Ozuna being a bounce-back candidate based on batted ball velocity and the angle that he hits it at. And to your point, he's ended up being a potential, comeback player of the year type. What did you see, and what did those numbers really stand out for you?
Yeah, I looked last year at the top 20 guys in exit velocity. So the 20 guys who hit the ball the hardest, and a lot of it's the guys you'd expect: Cruz and Miguel Cabrera, Paul Goldschmidt, et cetera, et cetera. If you look at the rest of those guys, 19 of them had above average offensive seasons. Only Marcell Ozuna didn't. And it seemed to me it would be really hard to hit the ball that hard and not be productive unless you're striking out a ton, which he really wasn't. And we looked at his launch angle, which is really what's the elevation that you let the ball go. Is it a grounder? Is it a fly ball? And he was hitting it a little bit too low, and he got sent to the minors, and he came back, and that launch angle went up last year. So I saw he's hitting the ball hard. He's getting more elevation on it. He's going to have a really good season. Now, I will say, it's been a lot better than I expected. I cannot take full credit for this, but it's a useful tool to look at, whether you're in a team, whether you're a fantasy player, anything like that.
Well, the guy on deck hits the ball as hard as anybody in baseball, not named Giancarlo Stanton, consistently.
Consistently, he throws it as hard as anybody in baseball, and he hits it as hard as anybody in baseball. And I'm gonna go ahead and answer a question that hasn't been asked yet. And I saw one of your colleagues on Twitter, Jenny, asked, "What was the hardest hit home run this season?" And I don't know if she knew it was a Rocky, but it's Carlos Gonzalez.
Was it against Zach Greinke?
I can tell you in a second. It was, I believe, 118 miles an hour, and it was on April 4th. So I think that was against Greinke.
And another pop-up. Mats wanted to handle it. Instead, it'll be the third baseman, Flores.
That's another pop-up from Nolan into the infield. Again, as we're watching it, and with Nolan, it has nothing to do with talent. It has nothing to do with what's going on between his ears. There's his body and the way he's falling over is creating a very steep angle, and that's the mishit that we've been seeing the last 2 days.
That had to be an agonizing trip back to the dugout. You got first and third, nobody out. And yet another pop-up when virtually anything in play is going to get you a run.
And it's the same thing with Tyler Chatwood and Nolan. You have two guys that are just kind of grinding through the mechanics of their baseball. Tyler with the mechanics of his pitching, and Nolan right there with the mechanics of his swing, not allowing the legs to be under him and not allowing his body to just put himself in a better position to hit.
So here's Cargo, first and third, now one out. Blackman at third, he doubled and stole third base. DJ LeMahieu is at first, he walked. 1-1 game, Rockies hitting the top of the third.
Have you figured out, or are organizations looking at, so guys that have the high exit velocities like a Carlos Gonzalez, is there something that they do consistently? Is it body composition? Is it bat speed? I mean, what's allowing them to consistently hit the ball that hard?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's a combination of a couple things. Obviously, it's bat speed, and for a lot of guys, it's generated maybe not even by the biceps, it's strong wrists, I think, in a lot of guys. And it's also about squaring up the baseball. It's about identifying the pitch and getting good contact on it. Like LeMahieu, probably not the strongest guy in the world or even on this team, but he does a really good job of squaring up the baseball, making solid contact. And I think it's kind of hard to look at a guy and judge, will he make solid contact? Does he have strong wrists? This is a number that you can put to that and say, yeah, he hits the ball really hard. You don't always get a base hit when you hit the ball hard. Sometimes you'll line it out, and it's just the way baseball works. But more often than not, good things will come if you can hit the ball hard.
Well, I know today's a Fan Friday, so fans, we're talking with Mike Petriello with the StatCast. If you want to send some tweets, hashtag us at Fan Friday, and Mike will answer some of your important stats. No fantasy questions out there, though. It's not going to win a league for you.
No, absolutely not.
2-strike count on Cargo. Doubled in a run his first inning. In his first at bat. And the Rockies broke on top against Mats. James Loney hit a home run against Tyler Chatwood to tie up the ball game. A large strikeout from Matz's perspective. 2 gone, and now it'll be left to Trevor Story.
Matz has had to make some pitches in a situation where you have first and third, nobody out. Was able to get Nolan to pop up, and a great slider down and away. Cargo trying to sit back on the backside, but you see the front just give out. Not able to keep that barrel in the zone. 2 frustrating back-to-back at bats for the Rockies' main guys.
Yeah, you couldn't have drawn it up any better. First and third, nobody out, and you have Nolan coming up, followed by Cargo, and now Story. Trevor had a solid at bat in the first inning. It ended on a fly ball to center field. Saw a lot of pitches, and he takes a strike. These are momentum innings. In other words, the Rockies could have taken momentum back, and if Matt somehow gets to the dugout and survives this, momentum swings back to the Mets dugout.
Well, the Rockies have dug themselves into a nice hole. You have an opportunity to score a run, and Trevor Story, luckily, is one of the better hitters in baseball with 2 strikes. 13 home runs with 2 strikes this season, second only to Todd Frazier.
Stayed off the fastball up. It's 1-2.
Now, I assume you guys are all on board the Trevor Story for Rookie of the Year train?
Yeah, there's room if you want to jump on it.
It's tough. You got the 3 shortstops right at the top, the Seager and Diaz, and maybe even case for John Gray.
I want to talk to you. You're going to come back next inning. I want to talk to you about Coors Field at the Perception National.
My favorite topic.
Strike 3.
You do like that topic.
Tough inning for the Rockies. It was set up for them to add on. Unfortunately, they did not. Middle of 3, it remains 1-1. supposed to be rainy today. Unfortunately, most of the rain missed the New York metropolitan area. In a 1-1 game, here's a question from Mike Petriola. Who has the highest throw velocity from the outfield this season? And you're asking the right man.
See, I like this one because this is one I know off the top of my head without looking it up. It's Aaron Hicks of the New York Yankees, 105.1, threw out Danny Valencia, the A's, at home. And think about that, 105.1 from the outfield. What could Chapman do if he had a running start from the outfield?
do you know this about Chapman? That he's one of the fastest guys in baseball?
I believe it. If he got a running start and had his steam, he could hit, what, 110?
I have no idea. But Travis
That...
d'Arnaud took 2 pitches. Unfortunately, Chatwood has hit the strike zone after the rough second inning. Cargo's on that list, though. Consistently a guy who has a reputation of having a big arm, and it's displayed in how hard he's throwing a baseball this year from the outfield.
Yeah, we have
strike
him
3.
On average 95.9 miles an hour, and that's behind Aaron Hicks, and it's behind Starling Marte. And so the way we measure that, it's really, we just take the guy's top 10%, really, his 90th percentile, and measure above that, because nobody cares about the soft lob saying that's all going to mess up the data. And you can see here that throw, he's got an absolute rocket. And it's always been in the scouting reports, and now we have actual data to back it up.
That was Brandon Snyder getting tossed out at home. Should have known better.
Do you have any black and white footage from when Spilly played? Because Spilly had a good arm also.
I believe it. You know, everybody always asks me that. Can we go back in time? Like, I want to know how far off the mound did Randy Johnson get? You know, how hard did Babe Ruth hit the ball? I'd love to know those things.
But
in all seriousness, though, that would be cool when you talk about rapid Robert Feller and the big train Walter Johnson. If there was a way of computing how hard guys threw back in the day. In the air to Cargo and right, routine play. Cespedes retired, 2 gone.
I think you're right. It'd be cool, but then I almost wonder if it would ruin our memories, because everybody thinks that Bob Feller threw harder than anybody, and maybe it was 92.
Well, I have a theory on that. I don't want to bury the old guys, but they were great in an era, was great in an era. But guys now, and all we know about training and diet, etc., they should be bigger, stronger, faster now than they were 80 years ago. That just, to me, it's logical. I want to ask you, because then he's getting away from us very quickly. Coors Field, one of the things that's a pet, and I'm from New York, and I get that this is where the media nationally, a lot of folks are housed. But this notion that guys just, you know, take a swing and the ball magically floats 450 feet at Coors Field, and that you dismiss anything a Rocky does is really, to put it mildly, irritating.
I really don't like that. I really love thinking about Coors Field, and I have to say that the Rockies fans I hear from on Twitter are really, really cool, because they're just so happy someone's thinking about it differently. There is a little bit of science to it. For every 1,000 feet of elevation, the ball goes about 6 feet further. That's from our friend Dr. Alan Nathan, so that exists. Nobody doubts that. But, you know, I looked, for example, every single regular Rocky, with the exception of Nick Hundley, is striking out more on the road. It's a big difference when you leave Coors to go on the road.
I'll tell you what, Mike, can you hang around another half inning?
Yeah, if you'll have me, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sweet.
Good. Mike's going to stick with us. He's got fascinating information. Really good bounce back inning for Tyler Chatwood. Filled up the strike zone. 1, 2, 3 through the thick part of the Mets order.
Is he
Rockies have won all 4 encounters with the Mets so far this year. And in the top of the 4th inning, Mark Reynolds, David Dahl, and Nick Hundley. Upstairs, Mark Stouts downstairs with Ryan Spilborghs. I'm Drew Goodman. Mike Petriello continues to join us from StatCast. A lot of fascinating stuff. We started to delve into the Coors Field issue and how the perception is perhaps not what people think. Is it a great offensive park? Clearly. But what else have you learned with your information in particular? Yeah,
we've learned a lot about it, and I think people just look at the road stats and think they can double the road stats, and that's the player the guy's going to be if he gets traded. And I think we know that's not true, and you live this, Ryan. You know it better than anybody. When you leave the Rockies, you're going to probably get better on the road too, because you're playing at not, a million feet in the air all the time.
Exactly, yep.
And I think what happens is the Rockies hitters see more fastballs at home.
You talk through this. We're going to assume Loney's going to make the catch.
Yeah, he's a pretty good first baseman. So Rockies hitters see more fastballs at home, and I think everybody knows that it's harder to throw a breaking pitch, of course. A lot of pitchers just don't. And I think what happens is they kind of know that, and they get really aggressive at home, which is great. If you know a fastball's coming, swing at it. And that carries over on the road a little bit, and then they get too aggressive, and that's why the strikeouts pile up. It's not that the ball's not going farther, and it's a little bit that, but they're also just not making the same contact on the road.
I agree with that, but I also agree that there's parts of the stats, and you and I have had this conversation before. Confidence in this game far outweighs sometimes a result. Sometimes you can have confidence, and like David Dahl right now, he's exuding confidence. It's the difference between hitting 300 and 250. It truly is. There is a defining moment where you feel like you belong in the big leagues, and the home road on the teams that I played on with the Rockies, where we felt like we could take a walk. We didn't have to be as aggressive because we trusted in the group. There was a confidence behind the group value versus individual confidence. I'm just going to come up here and hit a bomb.
Yeah, I don't refute that at all. It's one of those things I may not be able to measure it, but I do believe it exists.
Yes. How much of this information, you mentioned it's available to all 30 major league teams. How much of this do you think goes into deciding trades? Obviously, trade deadline's coming up. Can you find a diamond in the rough using this information?
Yeah, I think there's already a couple of examples that are out there. Colin McHugh, for example, is on the Astros, was briefly with the Rockies and with the Mets. And the Astros looked at him and they saw the spin rate on his curveball. And they said, he's got really high spin on his curveball. I think we can make something of him. And they got him for essentially free. He's been a pretty used big league pitcher over the last couple of years, right?
He's been great.
Here with the Mets, they chose Lucas Duda over Ike Davis because of his exit velocity. I'm sure there's 25 other examples of that we don't know about. I know most teams are looking at spin rate. Obviously, every team does it differently, but that's the beauty of it. They all have access.
0-2 on Hundley, 1 out. David Dahl keeps hitting, 2 for 2 today. This was an emergency start for him. Let's get a question in from somebody in the audience after this pitch. Just inside. No. Evidently on the inside corner. Chris Caccione calls out Nick Hundley, and there's 2 gone. That'll bring up Chatwood. Now we'll get to that question. Do you think it's more important to have a high exit velocity or launch angle to be a productive hitter? Good question.
Yeah, it's a really good question. And it's important because you have to think of both of those things in tandem, because it's great to hit the ball 100 miles an hour. If you hit it straight up, if you hit it straight down, you're not very likely to get a hit. So it's really important to have both of those things. I mean, if I had to choose one, I'd rather hit the ball hard because that's really all that's going to matter at the end. But if you look at launch angle, so 0, for example, is right back at the pitcher. And if you want to really get into the home run zone, like the sweet spot for home runs is about 25 to 30 degrees. If you can hit a ball 100 miles an hour at 25 to 30 degrees, it's not always a homer, but it's pretty well close to always being a homer.
I think Cardinals has the lowest launch angle for a home run this year. It was the Zach Greinke home run over the pool in opening weekend in Arizona. It was like 14.8.
Yeah, you're right. I think that might be the second low we have. This going back to last year. I think last year Giancarlo Stanton hit one against the Phillies that was like 12 or 13, a total frozen rope right over the line.
Chatwood's behind 0-2. What numbers in particular with the Rockies' current 25-man roster jumped out at you and said, "Ooh, that's kind of surprising," on a positive side?
Yeah, actually, I'd look at Tyler Chatwood, who's pitching tonight. He's been throwing a ton of fastballs, and I look at his spin rate on his curveball, and I say to myself, that guy needs to throw his curveball more often. It's top 5 in baseball. It just doesn't throw it very much.
Really?
Throw your curveball more, Tyler. Let's go.
We'll get into a few more Rockies with Mike, and then we'll let him view the game as he generally does. It's 1-1 going to the bottom of the fourth. Are brought to you by Clean and Crisp Coors Light. This is not surprising. The Rockies have won with offense and survived on the pitching mound. The Mets don't have a great offense, but you know they have great arms. However, the reason the Rockies have won 7 of 8, lately those numbers have been flipped. The Rockies' run prevention has been outstanding, and they've won a couple games in a row where they've scored 3 runs or less. Yesterday, a prime example, a 2-1 victory, their first 9th inning comeback all year. We continue on with stats analyst and writer Mike Petriello. Ryan Spilborg's upstairs, and he's just giddy because he loves this stuff. He's, you know, Ryan was a nerd. Ryan was Spilly was a nerd who could play baseball.
I love it. I love that about it.
So nothing's changed.
So exactly. So nothing's changed.
I'm a nerd that talks about baseball.
Yeah, now you don't get to play anymore. Neil Walker swings at the first pitch. By the way, this is a simple stat. You just had to have, you know, hands and toes to figure this one out, Mike. 27 pitches in that rough second inning for Tyler Chatwood. Last inning, a new guy jumped in his uniform, 8 pitches. That's the direction.
Better.
That's better.
Yes.
We all can agree with that.
Absolutely.
All right, getting back to Rockies and some numbers that jumped out at you. Tyler Anderson has made waves through the first 9 starts of his big league career.
Yeah, I was watching his start the other day, and he's got this interesting Clayton Kershaw hitch in his windup I've never noticed before, which was fascinating. But most importantly, he does not get hit hard. And we can measure that, right? We have exit velocity for hitters. We have exit velocity for pitchers, too. Who's giving up crushed liners and who's not. And if you want to know, like, does that matter? Well, last year, the 3 starting pitchers with the lowest exit velocity, Arrieta, Keuchel, and Kershaw. Those are pretty good pitchers, right? That kind of proves there's something to that.
Yes.
And if you're a guy like Anderson, you're not blowing guys away, you're not getting up a ton of strikeouts, you need to be doing something else really well. And this is what he's doing. He's limiting hard hit baseballs.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, and I mean, that's number 2 on that list.
And it's been borne out by how he's done so far. In fact, his record, you know, that's why wins and losses is misleading. His record probably should be much better than a guy who's 3-3. Yeah,
the way he's pitched, absolutely. Now, I will say I would love to be totally on board the Tyler Anderson train, but I think he has faced the weakest hitters in all of baseball, like by OPS. If you look at the list, he's number 1 because I think it's been the Braves and the Phillies. It's not a knock against him. It's just something to keep an eye on against other teams.
Bullet at Mark Reynolds. 1 out as Walker.
Is it? And you mentioned that you're looking at OPS and you're looking at the numbers, and okay, so he's not facing the best of the best. Do you look at run differential as well? Is that something for you? Because we look at a team like the Baltimore Orioles, who the Rockies just played, and they had a +41 run differential. They were in first place of the American League East, and on their toes was the Boston Red Sox with a +89 run differential. Is that something you play with as well? Is that something you pay attention to?
I can tell you exactly why. If you look at the AL West, this is as of like 2 days ago, the Angels and the Rangers had a very similar run differential, and their records are enormously different. And so that stood out to me is, how is that possible? And I looked at the Rangers, and they've been, I hate to use the word, they've been clutch, right? And what that means is they've been getting hits in the biggest possible spots. And that's not necessarily something that is predictive. It's something that has happened. It doesn't mean it's something that will happen. But yeah, I might not have noticed that if not for that run differential stat.
Wilmer Flores is ahead 3-0 with 1 out. Well, we ran run differential in the Rockies because after their victory yesterday against the Mets, they are dead even in number of runs scored, number of runs allowed this year. And we juxtaposed it against July 29, 2015, July 29, 2014, where they were minus 54 and minus 56. So should we... they can be nothing but a positive there.
Oh, absolutely.
Watching this team every day, you feel like they're definitely headed in the right direction. They've made large improvements. Do your numbers bear that out? And kind of following up on Spilly's question, do you pay attention to run differential?
Yeah, I do in certain situations like that. Not in the early part of the season, because all you need is one blowout and that skews things for weeks. But as you get into the season, yeah, you look at that. And if you look at the Cubs, obviously, Cubs are winning a ton of games. They've got a run differential like 3 times larger than anybody else's. I mean, when you look at a ball game, you're not really winning a game in an at-bat or in an inning. You're trying to put up a run there. I think that maybe tells you as much or more about the dominance of a team. And when you look at the Rockies, as you said, getting back to even, 0 might not look that impressive, but compared to the last couple of years, that is the right direction.
I read a piece, I don't think you wrote it, but I read a piece in the last couple of years that said a greater indication of how good a team is the number of wins they have once you're well into the season by 5+ runs, as opposed to what your record is in 1-run games. The Rockies' record in 1-run games is abysmal. Do you buy into that?
That's interesting. I haven't read that piece. My inclination is to say probably not, because if you look at, say, the Royals last year, they won with not much offense and a great bullpen. I'd be surprised if they had a lot of blowout wins, probably a ton of 1-run wins. So, maybe the game has changed in the last couple of years. Bullpens have obviously become far more dominant. So, I don't know. I'd be interested in reading that, but I think immediately I'd say I don't buy it.
1-1 on Cabrera with 2 outs, and he pops it up.
You are Lord of the Rings with this notebook computer. One notebook to rule us all.
Thank you so much, guys.
Give your information again so people can follow you, because you're a great follow.
Follow Twitter, Mike_Petriello, Petriello. We also have a weekly stats podcast, which Ryan has been on, statcastpodcast.com.
And you make a mean lasagna, I'm sure.
I try.
Yeah, there you go. Mike, thanks
for your time.
Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it.
Great
Appreciate
stuff.
it, Mike.
1-1 ball game. Mike Petriello, and it's a 1-1 game. Steven Matz and Tyler Chatwood hooking up. Third time through the lineup, Charlie Blackmon's 2 for 2 after being 0 for 20 career-wise at Citi Field. Got a single and a double. He takes a slider for a strike. The Rockies, in the last appearance for Charlie Blackmon at the plate, ruined a great opportunity. Led off with a double, stole third. Standing there with nobody out, and he's now 3 for 3. So Charlie, who'd been scuffling not only at Citi Field, but the last few games, in fact, he got a day off in Baltimore. He just looked fatigued. He looks re-energized tonight. 3 hits left on left against Steven Matz.
And more importantly, all 3 of his hits have gone opposite field. Whenever you see a hitter hit the ball opposite field, it means 2 things. Number 1, he's allowing the ball to travel. Number 2, he's in his legs. That's what we're seeing with DJ LeMahieu. That's why seeing the batted balls over 100 makes so much sense now. You understand he's allowing the ball to travel. He's on his backside, and that allows your barrel to get through the zone with far more velocity than if you're out on your front foot.
DJ fires at that pitch, fouls it off. The other thing that has changed in this game is suddenly Tyler Chatwood has found some command. After an inning where you thought, boy, they may have to come get him, it looked like
they were close.
Yeah, he looked like he was falling apart. He just could not throw the ball over the plate. And then innings 3 and 4, he's had terrific command and great results. He has retired 7 in a row.
And that's why I wanted to point out that we never saw Steve Foster run out to the mound and try to talk to him, give him anything, because as we saw it, Tyler, it's a feel for him. There's nobody on this field that can tell you what to do. He knows what he needed to do. He had the great bullpen session that you mentioned. And here you go. Work it out.
And some of that, Spilly, is knowing your guys. A different guy going through the same thing. Steve may have been out there.
You're right. You're right. You're absolutely right. Tyler, at this point, after the relationship that him and Steve have, there's an understanding. Just let me go out there.
I'm sure the same is for hitting coach Blake Doyle. That there's some guys that you may want to pull aside if you're seeing something. There are other guys say, you know what, he's going to work through this. I don't need to.
You're 100% right. Reading a player and understanding how to kick him into gear. Some guys are a pat on the back type guys. Some guys are a kick in the pants type guy. And everybody's different. That's why you have to get to know your players.
And some guys get paralysis by analysis.
Yes.
And you can't feed them too much information. Otherwise, they have too many swing thoughts, right?
Yeah, I mean, the worst thing you can do at a major league level is stand up there and think about your hands, your feet, mechanics, timing, all those things.
At that point, the catcher's throwing the ball back to the pitcher, right?
You're walking, making a left-hand turn towards the dugout.
DJ's hurt the Mets this year. Trying to hurt him some more right now. 2-1 count. Leadoff single in a 1-1 game for Charlie Blackmon. We're in the top of the 5th. Now 3-1. Good take. Nolan waiting his turn. Base hit right field. See if Charlie goes first to third. Nope, he's going to stop and pause at second base as Granderson was quick to the baseball. So 2 on for the suddenly struggling Nolan Arenado.
I'm going to go ahead and throw another 100-mile-an-hour batted ball into play for DJ LeMahieu. See how he pulls those hands in nice and tight, stays inside the baseball, gets a pitch up in the zone, and that's just, it's awesome to get a chance to watch DJ day in and day out.
Nolan may have changed lumber. I'm going to ask you something shocking. Never would think of doing this with Nolan.
Bunt?
If he tried to bunt here.
You know I'm not opposed to bunting first and second, nobody out.
That I know you're not. Infield's way back on the left side. Takes ball 1.
In this situation, if he wants to drag bunt, by all means, fair or foul, and then make sure you give yourself a chance, right? He's in a hitter's count right now, and it only takes one swing. It takes one swing for all the good feelings, all the correct swings that you've taken to lock in.
But that was another swing where the head, you can see it from up here, Spilly, break it down, where his head is traveling toward the baseball.
We're going to watch from the side because you get a chance to see the head movement. Watch the lower legs, see how they're moving. They're not moving all the way back like he used to. Sometimes you'll see Nolan take a huge step backwards. That allows him to get on his backside. And there's so many thoughts going through your mind when you're trying to work out your swing. Normally you see Nolan take a step back with the back foot, and that allows that back foot to stay in place. If you notice, the back foot was dragging and flying towards the pitcher's mound, so it's obviously he's not sitting on it.
And that's going to turn into a double play off the end of the bat. DJ gets tagged by Loney. And here we go again with another great opportunity that may go awry.
It's a really difficult read for DJ LeMahieu at first. You're trying to freeze because it's a line drive, but you're also in no man's land where you're trying to get to second base to prevent a double play.
Here's Cargo again. He drove in the Rockies' only run. He laced a double to left center field on a 2-0 pitch in the first inning. And then with runners at first and third in the third, he struck out on a slider. Blackman at second. Steven Matz this year fashioning an 8-6 record. He got off to a tremendous start. The league is hitting just 150 with runners in scoring position and 2 outs. Good news is Matz is 82 pitches in here in the 5th inning. He's throwing a few. Cargo trying to drive in Blackman.
Well, neither team is really taking advantage of the opportunities that the pitchers have given up. And that's with the walks with Tyler Chatwood. Weren't able to capitalize. The Rockies in different situations. First and third last inning. 2 innings ago, weren't able to capitalize. First and second, nobody out. Not able to capitalize so far.
One and 2 count.
Season high pitch for Steven Matz. 106 pitches May the 4th against Atlanta.
Rockies have 7 hits, 1 run. The Mets a run on just 2 hits. James Loney a home run. And again, the Rockies waste an opportunity. 2 on, nobody out. And they don't score. Middle of 5, 1-1. Baseball brought to you by T-Mobile. There have been a couple of trades already today. The deadline comes Monday. Andrew Cashner, Colin Ray, Teheran Guerrero all go from San Diego to Miami. Actually, yeah, they go to Miami. Jared Kozart's going to go to San Diego. One of the interesting names in that deal also, Josh Naylor's a first base prospect, top 100 player. Carter Capps, remember he hopped off the mound. He had that's how he would throw his fastball in the upper 90s.
Carter Capps?
Yeah, and a lot of people would complain and say that's a balk. He's disengaging with the rubber. Major League Baseball's okay with that. Tommy John surgery, he's been out all year. When he comes back there, you get a guy who put up tremendous numbers last year, talking about the Padres. Conforto's in a ditch 0-2 against Tyler Chatwood, who has retired 7 in a row.
Going back to Carter Capps, and they did find that you're not allowed to jump the way he did. So they sent him down to the minor leagues to work on his ability to stay on the rubber before calling him back, not because he was ineffective.
But again, a big arm.
That's a huge arm.
And a big-time first base prospect. You're a suspect when you're a prospect until you
always
do it up here. Here's the 1-2. And that's fouled off. Michael Conforto, a 3-time All-American at Oregon State. Good bloodlines. His dad was a linebacker at Penn State. And mom won a couple of gold medals in the '84 games in LA in synchronized swimming. Did he hold up? According to John Payne, he did. Looked like he did. 2 balls, 2 strikes. 10th pick in the first round by the Mets out of Oregon State after his junior year. Twice also the Pac-12 Player of the Year. 2-2. Breaking ball is chopped toward the Mets dugout. He got sent out, Spilly, and he did what you hope all guys who get sent out do. He didn't pout. He went down. He hit 344, hit some bombs at AAA, and he got a quick call back.
I think the biggest issue for Conforto is finding a position that he can excel in. Talked about moving him around in the outfield. Jonas Cespedes really has been the center fielder, but dealing with the leg strain. Conforto got the start tonight in center field. Talking about moving him to first base since Lucas Duda went down. We're talking to a Mets rep. They said it lasted about 3 days. Conforto had an opportunity to take some ground balls at first. Lasted about 3 days, and he was back in left field.
Three and 2.
Trying to see if, I'm sure Tyler Anderson and Conforto's paths crossed between Oregon and Oregon State, but it would have made Conforto a freshman.
That's foul. Well, Chatwood's thrown more pitches to Conforto than he threw in the 3rd inning. He threw 8 pitches in the 3rd inning total. And Conforto is going to see his 11th pitch here, and he wins the battle. Change-ups inside. That is walk number 4 allowed by Tyler Chatwood. Let's go to our Denver studios. Here's Jenny again.
New start, new face.
Yeah, that's Donnie's Yankee lineage.
I like it. set some uniform standard rules for the group to follow.
Red Sox wouldn't have done too well a few years ago with that. That's at the knees. Steven Matz opted to take that one too, and it's 0-2. Chatwood seems to have obviously some command back, but confidence again. You could see in that second inning that it was starting to affect him. You could tell a little bit by the body language. He was really struggling to throw a strike, any kind of strike.
Something as simple as watching whether a guy's breathing, taking a breath.
The irony is, despite that very difficult inning, he gave up only 1 run, worked out of it, and his pitch count's still relatively low. And Matz with 2 strikes gets it down. Reynolds couldn't risk to see if that would go foul. So it's a successful bunt, putting Conforto in scoring position for Granderson.
The first 20,000 through the gates on Saturday, August 6th, will receive a DJ LeMahieu Ghostbusters bobblehead. Da-da-da-da-da-da, courtesy of King Super.
Want to do that again?
Da-da-da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da-da-da.
It's not bad. Don't ask me to follow up. Granderson today, a walk and a pop to short. The pop to short ended that second inning when the bases were loaded, and it was a 3-0 count on Granderson. Curveball. It's high ball 1. Granderson just 1 for his last 14 and hitting 147 with runners in scoring position. That's that whole Mets team. Last in baseball.
Well, the Rockies of late have been really good with runners in scoring position, limiting hitters 3 for 37 with runners in scoring position.
Center field, and Blackman's there. Good backup by DJ LeMahieu. Always somewhere to go. 2 outs.
Charlie's shaking his head. Sometimes you make plays on a baseball field and you wonder why you just threw that baseball.
Here's Darno grounded into a 5-4-3, and then he led off in the 3rd inning after Chatwood couldn't throw any strikes in the 2nd inning, and he took 3 straight pitches all in the strike zone, never moved the bat. And this is in the air to Charlie in center field, and Chatwood works out of it. So we move on to inning number 6. The Rockies won and the Mets won.
Milwaukee will lead off David Dahl due to hit third in this half inning. He was talking to Walt Weiss about yesterday's game where you had Story involved. You had Tony Walters. You had Carlos Estevez. You had Tyler Anderson on the hill. David, all these young players for Walt Weiss and the Rocks.
You know, you mentioned Tony and the part that he plays has been crucial. You know, Dahl obviously just coming up and making an immediate impact. Some of the pitchers, Johnny Gray, Tyler Anderson. I mean, there's a lot of youth on this roster, but they've all shown up here at the major league level and have hit the ground running and have been impactful for us.
And Drew and Ryan takes an entire roster. It's been a good mix of veterans and these young guys like Story who's at the plate.
It definitely does, but it gets you very excited about the promise not only of tomorrow, but what these guys are doing currently. And you alluded to it. Yesterday's game was heavily impacted by 5 rookies. And this is going to be a base hit for rookie Trevor Story. So again, the Rockies get a leadoff man on. That's their 8th hit against Steven Matz. Yesterday, you had 4 in the starting lineup in Story, Dahl, Tony Walters, and Tyler Anderson, and the ball game was closed by Carlos Estevez. We give the organization a ton of credit because there are well thought of rookies every year that come up and then have to revisit the minor leagues. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that happens. We were talking about Chris Tillman. He went back and forth 8 different times. Pretty good, right? That's part of the process for a young player typically. But look at this year. Trevor Story clearly was ready. David Dahl, I know it's only 5 games. He looks pretty ready.
He's pretty close.
Yeah. You know, Carlos Estevez, Tyler Anderson. There's a lot of guys that have come up here and don't look like they're going to be heading back the other direction anytime soon.
And whenever you bring up a rookie, there's 2 things it does to the clubhouse. Number one, it brings some life. David Dahl and Tyler Anderson, they bring that rookie life. There's a little extra energy. I saw yesterday, and yesterday was such a great example of the importance of having youth with guys that have been here over the course of the season. The Rockies got in late from Baltimore on Thursday morning, and who were the guys that were able to carry the team through? It was the young rookies, the guys with a little extra energy, just because it's new to them. And the other thing that was so important about this core group of young guys that are starting to come up with the Trevor and the David Dahls and the Tyler Andersons, John Gray, they played together. They played together significantly last year in AA. They went through their bumps and bruises as a collective group. And now that they're up in the big leagues, this is their comfort zone. It's one of his best friends standing at first base for David Dahl with Trevor Story. Same, and it goes both ways.
2-2 on Mark Reynolds. And a low throw swooped out of the dirt by Loney. Rockies have swiped 2 bags against Matz in this game. And they've done everything to create some offense, and yet they have only 1 run. That came in the first on the 2-out double by Carlos Gonzalez. Here's another somewhat interesting note on this game. Of the 8 hits for the Rockies, 6 are produced by left-handed hitters. Dahl has 2 hits. Blackman has 3. Cargo has the aforementioned double.
And the splits show the same numbers. The lefties are hitting 1 point higher versus right-handers. They have a higher on-base percentage, lower slugging. For the Rockies, you weren't able to get productive outs from the middle of your order so far tonight.
Nolan's 0 for 3 after an 0 for 5 yesterday. He's 0 for his last 13. Last hit was an RBI double in the 5th inning. The Rockies 6-3 win in Baltimore a few days ago. That's why I always say, Spilly, and you lived it for many years. I don't care how gifted you are. Nolan's one of the very, very best in the game. There's a 1 for 15 around the corner.
Well, on the other side, Neil Walker went 2 for 39.
That's a rough patch.
And currently he's 7 for his last 8.
This ball ripped to left center field. Story is going to end up at third base. Mark Reynolds heading towards second's got to get there, and he will on the bobble. Neil Walker did not handle the throw from Conforto. Second and third, nobody out. So again, the Rockies putting together a threat against Mats.
And Mark Reynolds is dead to rights at second base. Conforto playing center field, not his natural position, does a great job of getting to the baseball. That's a high fastball that Mark Reynolds is able to get on top of. Watch the hop. Is it a short hop on Neil Walker? Yes. He's not able to handle it. Reynolds barely gets in there in time.
You read in his eyes, he was like, oh no, this isn't going to be good.
About to get tossed out. Great.
So here's Dahl. Infield is halfway. He takes a strike. David with 2 opposite field hits. Actually, one was off of Mats, and the other was an opposite field hit. Well, that's optimistic, and there's nothing wrong with optimism.
I buy a Powerball ticket every week.
You know what? This is not going to get it done. Whoa, that was almost dropped. Cespedes caught that, and it was starting to creep out of the bottom of his gloves. And now there's 1 out. And Nick Hundley coming up. And this is a huge at bat for Hundley, because you have the pitcher Chatwood on deck.
Well, and it forces the Rockies to make a decision whether they want to put a pinch hitter on deck. Yoenis Cespedes calling off his dribble. Cabrera almost whiffed it.
You squeeze here?
Kind of have to at some point make an attempt to do something like that. They're trying. The Rockies are scrambling, trying to figure out which. Is it Daniel Descalso is going to come on deck right now? Charlie Blackmon's there, as the Rockies are buying some time.
Pulled through the hole, base hit. The heck with the squeeze. Hundley will drive him in. Reynolds stops at third. 2-1 Colorado. Nick Hundley's had 2 hits on this road trip, and they've been enormous.
The Rockies need that in the worst way. If he doesn't get a base hit right there, Tyler Chatwood is not walking to the plate right now to hit. Hanging curveball. Nick Hundley jumps on at first pitch, right past Wilmer Flores. Trevor Story going on contact. Game of inches.
Seth Lugo is warming in the Mets bullpen. 10 hits allowed by Mats. 2-1 Colorado. You don't have the same speed that you just had on third base, but with a lefty you can get a much better secondary if you're Reynolds. It's going to be a safety squeeze and a read of play for the runner at third.
It is a readable play for the runner at third, and as Mark Reynolds is standing side by side with Wilmer Flores, you basically pace yourself with the third baseman. Obviously, if you're going to try to get this bunt down, you know James Loney is crashing from first and will have an opportunity to throw Reynolds out. It's also a read play. It's a read play for Mark Reynolds at third. If the ball is hit bunted too hard towards Loney, he'll read and retreat back to third. You're also in a great position to do the old slug bunt.
I pointed this out yesterday. This Mets infield does not have great range.
No.
2 strikes on Chatwood. That's next pitch will be number 100. Find it, Spilly, when you were asked to bunt, a little bit easier to bunt against a lefty than a righty for you as a right-handed hitter?
It just depends on stuff. I mean, if a guy had a sinker ball, whether he's righty or lefty, it made it a little more difficult. Obviously, good secondary pitches make it difficult.
That's a good bunt. Loney looks to second. He'll go to first. Reynolds stayed near third base. So there's 2 outs. Blackman will come up, 2 in scoring position on the sacrifice by Chatwood. And Charlie is 3 for 3. Single, double, single. He also has a stolen base. Mundo's a beast. Huge RBI single a moment ago from Nick Hundley.
And that single meant so much to Walt and to Tyler Chatwood. That single allowed Tyler Chatwood to go back out for the 6th inning. Otherwise, you're having to use a pinch hitter with 2 outs trying to get a run across the board.
That's a strike. Keep in mind also that the Rockies bullpen on the plus side is depleted. Carlos Estevez is down tonight. You will not see him close the game. Those duties will fall to Adam Ottavino, and Boone Logan in all likelihood is down also.
And likewise for the Mets, Addison Reed threw again yesterday. He's thrown 4 days in a row. Jeurys Familia, I'm assuming, is shut down for today.
Well, not only did he have 2 back-to-back blown saves, but 25 pitches yesterday for Familia, and he'd thrown 3 days in a row and 4 out of 5. Blackman hits it on the ground to Walker. In the inning, the Rockies take the lead. Trevor Story scoring on a Nick Hundley base hit. 2-1, middle of 6. Rockies baseball on Root Sports is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. As we go to the bottom of the 6th inning with Ryan Spilborghs and Mark Stout, I'm Drew Goodman. The Rockies trying to improve to 5-0 this year against the defending National League champs. It'll be Yoenis Cespedes leading things off. James Loney, Neil Walker as well. Tyler Chatwood. 5 innings has allowed 1 run on 2 hits. You want to hear a strange line?
Can't wait.
Last 2 ball games for Chatwood. Strike 1. 10 innings of work. He's allowed 1 run on 3 hits. He's walked 12 though. And a ground ball to Nolan. He has time. Cespedes has to run gingerly with that quad injury.
Oh, this will make Jenny Kavnar happy. Saturday, August 6th is CSU night. Rams fans can purchase a special ticket package to receive a limited edition CSU-themed Rockies hat. Jenny and her whole family will be at that affair, I guarantee that.
Wearing her green and gold. James Loney homered in the second inning, leading off on a 2-0 pitch. Only run for the Mets. Changeup is in there for a strike. Another changeup. Rockies have gotten outstanding pitching in this second half. Loney finally sees a fastball and he chased out of the zone.
I think as we watch Tyler Chatwood, the difference between the first and second innings, watching between pitches, he takes a deep breath, slower.
Ground ball up the middle, and Story couldn't get to it. It's a one-out knock for Loney. Just the third hit tonight for the Mets. That'll bring up Neil Walker, who has one of the 3 hits. Let's check in again with the CSU Ram, Jenny Kavnar. I tell Spilly this all the time, Jenny, because he's constantly looking at Twitter. Not to read all the fake Twitter accounts this time of year, right?
Yeah, it's hard. It really is hard to separate the good from the bad. As we've already experienced this year with Carlos Gonzalez and the trade rumors behind him, that not all sources, no matter what they are, whether they're national or local, they don't always have the full story.
Walker lines one foul. It's 0-2.
I did ask somebody within the Rockies front office how important these next 3 games are as far as whether they decide to make a move or not. And the simple answer is that 2 or 3 games, that they will not be short-sighted enough to say that this will determine whether we're going to make moves or not. And I think big picture, I completely agree when you put it in that context, that you cannot let 2 or 3 games determine the fate of your team.
That is a prudent way to go about your business. You're going to look at body of work, composition of roster. There's so many factors. There's a ton of factors you have to weigh, but where you are as a group going forward, and you can't allow it to be determined by a week's worth of baseball, or certainly even less than that, as you suggested.
Well, you look at a team like the Chicago Cubs from last season, and Theo Epstein was candid about it. He said, we did not expect the Chicago Cubs to be in this window. They did not expect them last year to be contending for the National League Central. They were 12 to 18 months ahead of where they expected, based on the players that they had coming, to where they'd be really able to compete.
2-2. Here's the other thing, that trap you can't fall into, I think, is looking and circling a year and saying this is the year that it should all come together, because that may be the year that you lose a couple of key cogs to injury, unforeseen, and now all of a sudden you're saying, well, this was going to be our year, but we lost player A and player B, who are 2 of our 4 best players. You just got to let it play out. You don't know when a postseason run is going to find you necessarily. You can predict and project a little bit and have a feel, but you never truly know.
Well, and there's the other side of the table, where you look at a team like the New York Mets, where they make a move in the 12th hour to get Jonas Cespedes, and it changes their dynamic.
Double play ball. There's one, and there's two. Second turn behind Chatwood tonight. He rolls through the 6th inning. The Rockies have a 2-1 lead in New York. Here's our Cooney Lexus look back. In the first inning, Cargo a 2-out double to left center field to score DJ LeMahieu. And the Rockies got a first inning run against Steven Matz. Then James Loney in the second would hit a home run just over the outstretched glove of Cargo to tie it. And it stayed at 1 for a while until Nick Hundley last inning with a clutch base hit through the left side to bring home Trevor Story. The Rockies had a number of opportunities against Matz. They have stranded 8, 2 runs on 10 hits. And Matz is done. He's going to give way to Eric Goodell. Just came up not all that long ago from pitching in the Pacific Coast League with Las Vegas.
It's thrown very well for the New York Mets. 4-pitch mix, fastball, slider, cutter, and a changeup. And his changeup is truly a split finger that he uses 24% of the time.
This is on LeMahieu. It's 1-0 on DJ. DJ has been on 3 times tonight. A fielder's choice, a walk, and a single. That's a strike, 1-1. The Rockies have had the leadoff man on a number of times tonight. 4 out of 6 innings. Just haven't had the big hit other than Hundley's. And Cargo's obviously in the first, but there's been opportunities to expand this lead. Granderson will make the catch, 1 out. Find the latest Albuquerque Isotopes jerseys, t-shirts, novelties, and plenty more at abqisotopes.com. The Albuquerque Isotopes, proud AAA affiliate of the Colorado Rockies. So here's Nolan trying to snap an 0 for 13. You know, knowing Nolan as we do, it would not shock me that in between innings when he was not due up, that he was in the cage underneath.
Wouldn't surprise me, but at times, if I was his teammate, I would have yelled at him to just go sit down. There's times where, you said it earlier, paralysis by analysis, you're overthinking it, trying to field for too much. It's baseball. It happens. Try to get your mind to where you just see it and hit it.
He's Easier said than done at times. That's chopped foul, and you always seem to find yourself in an upside down count.
Always. I'm glad you pointed that out. You're always 2 strikes when you're in a stretch when you're not feeling well. And it seems at times when you're feeling great that it's always 2-1. It's 3-1, 2-0.
Setting up off the plate. 2-2. Goodell's an interesting story. You guys have fascinating background journeys to the big leagues. He was at one point thought of as the #2 high school prospect in the country. California kid. Splitter in the dirt, 3-2. Then he got hurt, missed his whole senior year, still signed with UCLA. He was no longer as a starter. He pitched in relief for the Bruins and then has made his way, through the minor leagues to the big leagues. But this was one of those can't miss kids, a high school All-American as a junior, that sort of thing. It'd be a high first-round pick coming out of high school. And it's another ball popped in the air, and it'll be handled by Granderson.
Individual game day suites and party facilities are still available. There's something for everyone and for every budget.
Two outs, nobody on. Carr goes 1 for 3. He has an 11-game hitting streak. After the first inning double, he has struck out twice. The Rockies leading 2-1. Snapped that 10-game losing streak here at Citi Field. But they have still gone 12 consecutive games here in Queens where they have scored 3 runs or less. And this one's high in the air on the infield. I've seen more pop-ups in the last 2 days than I think I've seen in a month. Rockies
I'm good with
lead.
pop-ups being done.
Vidal, he is in left field tonight. Gerardo Parra, of course, was the mainstay in left before he got hurt on June the 18th. He was placed on the DL with that sprained ankle. Rehab assignment began tonight. He played for the Hartford Yard Goats against Harrisburg. They had a home game in New Hampshire, in Manchester, New Hampshire. You know all about that. He went 1 for 2 with a walk and a run, played 5 innings, should play 7 tomorrow for the Yard Goats. Then have an off day, then travel and join Albuquerque in Tacoma and have some rehab games at AA, guys. An update on Gerardo.
Yeah, the number of at-bats, talking to Walt, is somewhere around 35 that they like to get him. And Keith Duggar, it's amazing how he's right on so frequently. He said this is typically going to be a 6-week injury. And you know, by the time he gets back, you know how long it's going to be?
6 weeks.
It's going to be 6 weeks.
35 at bats is about a week.
0-2.
7 days worth of games. Ooh.
He may have snuck it. Well, it's a little tall. One and two on Wilmer Flores. Chatwood working in the 7th at 95 pitches. 2-2. Spun out on that one. 3-2. 1-run game. And the Rockies are a little bit short in the bullpen. No Estevez tonight, no Boone Logan. It's Scott Oberg, Jordan Lyles, another guy who's a possibility on the plus side here late. And there's Scott, who did such a terrific job. Bases loaded situation yesterday with nobody out, and he got out of it. Good pitch. Nolan on the move, throws out Flores.
Every time we watch Tyler Chatwood, and when you get to this pitch count for a guy coming off Tommy John, it's important to trust your eyes. And obviously, it has been a bit of a grind for Tyler Chatwood in trying to find the command, but there's a difference between the grind of finding the command and actually watching him look like he's physically struggling, that he looks tired. I do not see any of those indicators watching him on the mound right now. And so if I'm in that dugout, the pitch count to me for tonight, the way he's working, doesn't really concern me.
It's just remarkable if you think back, folks, and if you've been with us throughout, in watching that second inning, and you had a sick feeling inside for him. Because it was one of those deals where he just could not throw the ball over the plate. Time was called, no pitch. Chatty wants to know what happened.
He's asking who called time.
But to see where he not only is now, but where he's been the last 5 innings is really remarkable.
Totally different guy. Might have went in the locker room and someone else crawled in there.
0-1 on the black, 0-2. The inning started. He got behind Loney 2-0. He gave up a home run. Then Walker hit like the very next pitch for a base hit. Got the next 2 guys out. Then a walk to Conforto. A walk to the pitcher, Matz. Fell behind Granderson 3-0. That just missed 1-2. And somehow got back in the count, and he induced a pop-up. But it looked like the wheels was already made. The wheels were off. Phone call was already made to get up Chris Russell.
The wheels were across the street at Citi Field.
And then since that time, Spilly, he's walked 1 and given up 1 hit. That's it.
Physically, I'm telling you, you're watching, looking at velocity, you're looking at movement, you're looking at how he's pacing in between each pitch. This is the strongest we've seen him. This took like he needed to get worn down a little bit. It's a 90-mile-an-hour slider in the dirt.
Less than stellar numbers with 2 strikes for Asdrubal Cabrera. Three and 2 again. It's back-to-back 3-2 counts. 105 pitches in. You have Conforto on deck. Got him to chase, and Cabrera wanted to break his bat. 2 outs. I think this is a situation that if Boone Logan were available, you'd see Boone Logan against Conforto right now.
You may or may not, but you can see the reaction of Asdrubal Cabrera just because you understand that Tyler Chatwood very easily could have walked the batter right there. I don't know. Even if Boone was available, I like giving the ball to Tyler Chatwood just because he's grinded through this entire start tonight, and we've seen the Jekyll and Hyde play out. Now we get to see the better Tyler Chatwood on the mound right now that I'd like to see him finish this inning.
He's going to finish it. This is popped up and playable. In left field, Dahl makes the catch. A 1-2-3 seventh for Chatwood, who's thrown a season-high 108 pitches.
Has a good rebound.
Evening, and the big 31 that sits out there in center field with the plate appropriately done to honor the Hall of Famer Mike Piazza. And they gave out jerseys to every fan tonight. Every fan that came in the ballpark tonight got the white replica Mike Piazza jersey. Second inning of work for Eric Goodell, Trevor Story, Mark Reynolds, David Dahl. And this is fouled off. Boy, another run would be nice, wouldn't it, Spilly?
Would it ever? Just that extra insurance run coming from a team that isn't scoring a lot of runs right now in the New York Mets. The way the bullpen has been set up for the Rockies, pretty much in a position of strength with an extra run.
And Story fouls off the high offering, and so in two. Jake McGee is up. See a pinch hitter, Granderson and Darno in the 8th inning for the Mets. Off the plate. McGee yesterday struggled, faced 3 hitters, walked a batter and gave up 2 hits. That's when Oberg came in for him and somehow extracted the Rockies from that mess. 2-2 on Story. Trevor singled in the 6th and scored the go-ahead run.
And looking at the Mets bench, Brandon Nimmo was recalled from AAA with Juan Lagares going on the disabled list with a hurt wrist. So you have lefty Alejandro de Aza, who had the start yesterday, another lefty Jose Reyes, switch hitter, but is probably not going to get an at bat because of the intercostal strain. So you're looking at 2 potential lefties as being the call for Terry Collins.
And this one's popped up. Have I said lately that I had not seen more pop-ups in the last month and the last 2 days? UC Health is tracking the number of walks and the distance the Rockies are in throughout the season. Start tracking your own steps today to get fit. The Rockies have walked 323 times this year, closing in on 30,000 total feet. With one out, Mark Reynolds at the plate. Mark doubled to left center in the 6th inning. Rockies have had a hit in every inning but the 7th. Reynolds crushes one deep left field. This one's gone. 3-1 Colorado. 11th of the year. Was that ever crushed?
That ball was hammered, and Mark Reynolds had been struggling of late. The single earlier today, the double in the gap in that home run, and occasionally Mark knows when to take his shot, when to pull the baseball. We've talked ad nauseum about how he's been different, how he's lowered the strikeout rate, how he's been hitting the ball opposite field. Mark also knows when to use that power, and he used it, loved it. He's starting to get a little bit of a Dante Bichette thing going when he hits a home run.
Big 3rd run for the Rockies.
Look at the Dante Bichette finish. All he has to do is look in the dugout and kind of pump his fist. Going out in a hurry.
David Dahl 2 for 3. Two strikes on Dahl.
Now Mets fans, it's not in their style to throw out home runs. That's more of a Wrigley Field thing, but as soon as that ball landed, thought I saw a fan throw the ball right out.
I think that half the Wrigley fans that sit out there in the bleachers, they bring the $1.99 ball to throw out.
Yeah, it's not the real game ball. They pocket it and they throw out the fake one.
It's not genuine then. They're disgust. Ball and 2 strikes on Dahl. 5-game hitting streak out of the gate for the kid from Birmingham, Alabama. Antonio Bastardo, the bullpen for the Mets. Curveball's up high, 2-2. Yesterday's win by the Rockies, only the 2nd win they've had in the last 6 years, when they were being shut out going to the 9th inning. The other one was the final game of last year. They're down 3-0 to the Giants. That's called strike 3. I thought that may have been up, but caught the top part of the Subaru strike zone. So Dahl is gone. Last year in game 162, down 3-0 to the Giants, they scored 7 times to win that ball game. The only other time in the last 6 years where they were being shut out going to the 9th, where they had a 9th inning rally to win, was yesterday. 11th home run for Mark Reynolds, and the Rockies are up 3-1. The go-ahead run was driven in by this man, Nick Hundley, with a base hit in the 6th.
And that was career home run 248, which ties Reynolds 218th all time. But the 2 names are very good names: Ted Simmons and Goose Goslin. Not Goose Gossage.
Goose didn't hit that many home runs. Didn't give up that many home runs either. Very fine career from Mark Reynolds. He's having a very fine year for the Rockies. Strike on Hundley. He's behind 0-2. And a breaking ball strikes out Hundley. But Mark Reynolds trots around the bases. And the Rockies have a 3-1 lead. Kubota pitching performance of the night. It was a Jekyll and Hyde night for Tyler Chatwood. Almost didn't get out of the second inning when he couldn't throw a strike. And from that point forward, he was untouchable. And the final line is magnificent. A run on 3 hits in 7 innings. He did walk 4. He struck out 4. And the final 5 innings were really, really good. Chatwood in position for his 10th victory of the year. Rockies up 3-1 as we go to the bottom of the 8th inning. Jake McGee, trying to bounce back from a tough outing yesterday, will be asked to get 3 outs here in the 8th.
It's going to be important for Jake McGee to establish strike 1. Obviously, the velocity is starting to creep back for Jake McGee. We've seen it slowly creep up from the 93s. He's pitching a little more consistently in the 94, 95 ranges.
This Philly is Alejandro Diaza, pinch hitting, and he takes a strike.
Diaza 8 for 38 this season as a pinch hitter. The most used pinch hitter for the New York Mets this season.
Hundley sets up on the outside corner, and it's another slider for a strike. It's 0-2.
McGee starting off speed to a lefty pinch hitter.
Really reinventing himself, isn't he? This is a guy who's a 95% fastball guy. He and Jason Mott, that's all they threw.
And at times, I'd say yes, but also to the situation as a pinch hitter. Pinch hitters are coming out there hunting, looking for fastball. There's the fastball, 94 down and away. So I agree with you. He has been reinventing himself, using sliders and curveballs far more often than he ever has. But this matchup may be him pitching to the pinch hitter versus this is how Jake McGee is pitching now.
How did he not swing at that? 2-2. Saw a moment ago that splits the sub-2 ERA on the road and the close to 9 ERA at Coors Field. Granderson on deck, so a couple of lefties initially for the Mets. And McGee gives up a base hit the other way.
MLB.TV Premium, the #1 live streaming sports service, is now available. Join the millions of subscribers. Watch every out-of-market game live and in true HD on over 400 devices.
Scott Oberg get loose. See how Walt plays this either way. McGee's normally, a full inning guy. He's not a matchup guy. But the next couple of hitters after Granderson are right-handed. One for 11 against McGee. And it's 2-0. Rockies shift for Granderson also, just like Diaza. Center field, and it's going to drop. Off the end of the bat, and now the Mets have something going. First time since the second inning they've had multiple base runners, and will Walt have to go and get McGee again? See if Oberg can bail him out. Here he comes.
Weak contact with Daza, hitting the ball opposite field where the shift was on. Broken bat single by Curtis Granderson to center field.
Just not missing bats though. He's not getting swings and misses. He got ahead of Diaza and then fell behind Granderson. So Oberg trying to repeat the performance of last night. 3-1 Rockies. Nobody out. Oberg will take over for McGee this week's CenturyLink high-speed question. What is the average bat speed for a big league player? 85 to 90, 75 to 80, 60 to 65. Go to AthleteSports_RM to cast your vote. CenturyLink high-speed challenge. Travis d'Arnaud walking to the plate, and Scott Oberg somehow got out of a bases loaded, nobody out situation created by McGee yesterday. Here's how he did it. He got a chopper up the middle and a nice play by Story to make sure the throw, and he got the force. Then Granderson struck out. got weak contact in the air from Flores. d'Arnaud with the big bat of Yoenis Cespedes on deck. Broken bat, roller to third, and they'll get the force out there. One gone. Hard two-seamer. And Diaza is out at third. So it's d'Arnaud to first, Granderson to second, and the crowd will react with the announcement that Cespedes is coming up.
Well, there's an opportunity that maybe you would see Travis d'Arnaud try to move the base runners up. But as we saw yesterday, the Rockies, if they would have tried to move runners first and second, Rockies would have promptly walked Yoenis Cespedes and loaded the bases to face James Loney. By swinging away with Travis d'Arnaud, now you're forcing the Rockies first and second, one out, to face Yoenis Cespedes.
And if you can get any kind of ground ball here, it'll be a double play. As long as it's obviously within the range of an infielder, because Cespedes can't run. He's got a quad injury.
This is the only guy truly that the Rockies can be hurt by.
And he pops it up, playable and foul ground. 2 outs.
That could not have worked out any better for the Rockies. The last 2 pitches, 2 outs.
Not out of the woods yet, because James Loney would probably be big threat number 2. It's a drop-off, I'll grant you. But Loney has swung the bat well in a Mets uniform. He homered earlier tonight, and he is facing a right-hander from the left side.
James Loney 2 for 3 today, and Chatwood's inning 2-0 count gets a pitch that James Loney was hunting for. 304 hitter against the Rockies with 16 home runs and 78 RBIs.
And you know what? On 3 pitches, he's going to get out of it. How do you like that? On 3 pitches, after inheriting a first and second situation, Scott Oberg gets out of it.
He's a magician.
He's a magician. And Jake McGee's going to give a big bear hug again in the dugout.
Buy him a steak dinner.
Bastardo in the top of the 9th inning, 9-1-2 for the Rockies. Christian Adames is going to pinch hit. You cannot say enough about Scott Oberg. So much so that we haven't seen the announced crowd. It's in the high 30s, close to 40, I think. But about a third of them got up and left. And we had one gentleman, shall we say, down in front of us that spent the whole commercial break yelling at anybody who would listen to him how upset he was with the with the 3 pitches and the performance of the Mets. Usually you're going to take one after 2, right?
Okay. You should. You don't typically see 3 pitches, 3 outs.
Yeah,
I mean, that's almost the Cardinal.
Across and tell him Lack said hi. All right. All right. You play.
And you look at it, it's almost a Cardinal sin. You don't get an opportunity for, if one guy makes an out, you know, Yoenis Cespedes swinging first pitch, I get it. James Loney swinging first pitch, I get it. Then you have a third, or you have James Loney on after 3 in a row. It's just crazy.
So here's Adames from the right side. Blackman and LeMahieu to follow against the veteran left-hander Antonio Bastardo. 3-1 Colorado in the 9th. Can't say enough about the performance of Scott Oberg. Walt spent a good portion of his time with the media this afternoon talking about Oberg. And Oberg earlier was talking about Walt and how much he appreciated that Walt continued to believe in him through a number of tough outings last year and this year. The home run ball had gotten Oberg, and he stuck with him. He said, I believe in you. Even though Oberg went back and forth a few times, he said, I believe in your stuff. You have to command it a little better. And in this most recent return, he has.
Well, Oberg has come back a different pitcher. His second best secondary was a hard curveball in AAA Albuquerque. 27 appearances, had 36 strikeouts, and started really relying on a hard slider. See the movement with the 2-seam. Blew up d'Arnaud's bat. Went right off the barrel for Cespedes and was down in the zone to James Loney.
Adames goes down swinging. Fans follow @RootSports_RM on Twitter to receive alerts for the Rockies Taco Special, and the Rockies do score 7 or more in a game. 3 straight strikeouts by the combination of Goodell and Bastardo. Here's Blackman. Charlie's 3 for 4 today. It's good to see the purple on the road. Strike 1 on Blackman.
I don't get to see that too often from my perspective, a season ticket holder with the Mets losing his mind after that last inning. I've always been in the dugout. You know what? You don't get to notice the fandom, and obviously New York fandom is a little bit different than most major media markets.
This is pulled to the corner, a 4-hit day for Blackman, and this will be at least a double. Charlie's going to stop there. The Rockies with a 1-out double from Blackman, a 4-hit ball game. The Rockies have a dozen hits tonight. The strange part about it is it usually equates to more runs than 3.
Oh, whenever your leadoff hitter is getting on base 4 different times, and that marks Charlie Blackman's 18th double of the season. Little spinning cutter down and away. He's in a good spot. 3 of his hits went opposite field, and then another lefty on lefty at bat. He's able to pull a pitch down and away. That was Charlie Blackman's first 4-hit game of the season.
Charlie was 2 for his last 16 coming into today.
Yeah, now you're 6 for your last 21. Perfect.
That's how the game works.
We don't think we calculate that stuff in our minds. We usually go in groups of 10. We try to get 3 hits every 10 at bats, and we just mark those.
LeMahieu, 1 for 3 and a walk. DJ takes ball 1. And Adam Ottavino, who was so good closing a year ago before the injury. He will close tonight. Carlos Estevez is down. It's a day off. His worked every day of late. He's been fantastic. Here's the 1-0. Say a perfect next 10 minutes. Want to know in a perfect 10 minutes? DJ throws out a hit. Nolan hits one in the gap. So he feels good going into tomorrow, and Otto takes the Mets down quickly in the ninth. Good swing from LeMahieu.
You had your crystal ball out yesterday. You were pretty solid in your calls. So DJ, another 100-mile-an-hour hit to right field. Nolan strolls up, drives the ball into the left center gap, right where he likes to hit it. Perfect. Yeah, I'm all for it. Let's see it.
Let's see what we can do. Two and one.
The starter not liking Charlie Blackmon and creeping off the bag. He's already stole third base against Steven Matz earlier today.
Mets fans frustrated with the two losses the last couple of days. One of the Cardinals and the blown save last night, and they're yelling at Pistardo, throw the ball. This is beautiful. Hot, muggy Friday night, the end of the work week, and the evening is not gone to the liking of the New York faithful. The Queens cheer. Yay, he threw it home. It's gorgeous, huh? Somewhere out there, I think it's the same fan, by the way, Spilly, they called you Splitmagus.
Yeah. Splitmagus.
Told you to go get on the bus.
That was after
that guy.
Yeah, that was after the Rockies got swept 3-game series.
He was in a great mood that day.
He's fantastic. He was way more chimey.
To right field, 2 outs.
The Rockies are currently seeking nominations for the 14th Annual Adult Leadership Award and for individuals who have demonstrated a commitment to the Hispanic community. Visit Rockies.com/leadership for more information.
So here's Nolan, 0 for 4. 0 for his last 14. With Blackmon at second base in a 3-1 ball game in the ninth. Rockies have out-hit the Mets 12-5. And they're going to put him on.
Well, this is even more frustrating for Nolan because you have to come back to the stadium. You're still 0 for 14 and you're hoping for that last great at bat.
See, Nolan is doing what few guys do. And I'm going to ask you, on the times you got intentionally walked, did you load?
Yes.
You did?
Yeah.
A lot of guys do. Nolan's saying, okay, listen, they're going to walk me. They're throwing pitches 8 feet outside. I always wonder why some guys, guys
I loaded
get
because I didn't believe that I was about to get walked intentionally. So do you even realize what's going through my brain right now? I'm like, oh gosh, don't throw this pitch right here. I'm an out. Oh, you're going to walk me? Sweet. Okay. Yeah, that's right.
And about once every 2 years, you'll see somewhere in baseball where one of those pitches is supposed to be 4 feet wide, wanders over the plate, the guy who's ready swats it for a base hit.
Miguel Cabrera famously did it for a game-winning base hit.
So Carr goes up there with runners at first and second. You got the Rockies on the board in the first inning when he laced a double to left center against Steven Matz. 1 for 4 tonight. He's got an 11-game hitting streak. Billy, I didn't do this. All right, I want you to know I would not have checked this. I suspect it may have been Doug, and they looked up how many times that you were intentionally walked in the big leagues.
Well, and I knew it was a low number. How low is it?
See, I love you, man.
Is it zero? Is it zero?
No, it's not zero. I love you, and I feel bad that they looked this up and they passed it on to me and insisted that I pass this along. It's not zero. Yeah.
1?
Yeah, it's 1.
It's a lonely number, but guess what? It's one more time than most people get intentionally walked.
Thank you. There you go. That's the right response. Here's the 1-1. 2-1. So you want to know what? Jacob's here with us, my oldest, and he just patted you on the back.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, we got you, Spilly. Don't worry, man. Don't let him pick on you.
You have the most home runs, the most hits. In fact, all the home runs and all the hits in the booth tonight.
In the whole history of the game, yeah. Or you own it.
That's 2-2 on Cargo. Stardo still hasn't thrown one over the plate. Ottavino will get Walker, Flores, and Asdrubal Cabrera in the bottom of the 9th. Cargo trying to extend the Rockies' lead. They're up 3-1. This is not ending, by the way, because Sully has just texted me.
That Sully has more intentional walks?
I would have thought that, but he has 5, or had 5.
Who was hitting behind Sully that they would walk Sully to get to that guy?
I did set that up for you, didn't I? Nicely. 3-2 on Cargo. This ball crushed deep right field. Take a good look. You won't see it for long. 3-run jack from Cargo. 6-1 Colorado.
Cargo just hit that ball to Queens right over the bridge. Terry Collins can only look in disgust, and same with the Mets fans. They are sprinting out to the 7 train.
He went away, and then a ball crept over the middle portion of the plate, and Cargo hits his 21st of the year.
Oh, that's so nasty.
Where's our boy Mike to tell us what the exit velocity was on that?
I need to steal that notebook computer.
Strike on the outside corner to Story.
Oh, you know he loves that. Look at the arm out. That's got to feel so good. The boos instantly raining down in Citi Field.
Billy, we got to stick together on the 7 going back.
I have an extra shirt in my bag.
Oh. He absolutely destroyed that baseball. Look at Granderson. I'm just guessing those folks up there above the Wise potato chip sign, they're not getting a lot of pebbles up there. One and 2 on Trevor Story.
I mean, that cleared out the room. That probably cleared out the room faster than if somebody said that Drew Goodman was doing stand-up.
That would really clear out the room. You know what else that breaks? the run of 12 straight games at Citi Field for the Rockies in which they scored 3 runs or less. Cargo's got 66 RBIs, a 4 RBI night.
Well, our friend Mike Petriello, he just gave us the velocity off the bat.
Okay, can I guess?
Yeah.
I'm going to go 112.7.
109.6.
Hard enough. Maybe launch angle too. 24.8%.
I don't know. Whatever the launch, whatever the launch angle was, it launched all the fans out of here.
Yeah. 2-2 on Story. That'll end the inning. The Rockies increase their lead to 6-1. And a healthy dose of booze for the Mets. 4 RBI night for Cargo. How pretty is that swing? Airlines, book your low fare now at southwest.com. And by Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo customers get your 2-for-1 club level tickets by visiting wellsfargo.com/Rockies. Lady Liberty. Saying, boy, did Cargo ever hit that one far. 6-1 Rockies. Spilly, you got off my favorite line of the year.
I said Cargo hit that ball to Queens. And what was your response?
We are in Queens. But it's a big borough, so,
yeah,
you know.
I mean, technically, we're still in Queens, and he hit it.
He hit it to the far reaches of Queens. He hit it to Far Rockaway. Adam Ottavino, who's a Brooklyn native, now living in Manhattan, will throw the 9th inning. And Neil Walker, who's 1 for 3, is at the plate. Hard sinking fastball. It's 0-1. Rockies have won 7 of 8. With a victory tonight, it'll be their first run of 8 out of 9 since April of 2013. Here's the 0-2. You know, for Carlos Gonzalez, that's his 5th game, Spilly, this year of at least 4 RBIs.
He's some kind of talent. That's the beauty of Carlos Gonzalez. Few players in this game can erupt. Saw last season where he was able to have a season in 2 months.
Joe, I was talking to David Dahl before the ball game. The interview you'll see on the pregame show tomorrow. And David's gotten great advice from so many people, and it's nice for him to be up here with his best friend in baseball, Trevor Story. But when I asked him, if there was one piece of advice that stood out, and he said, Cargo came over to me that first day and he put his arm around me. He said, listen, he said, you deserve to be here. Don't do anything different. You've earned your way here. Keep doing what you've been doing. And for a guy with Cargo's resume to come up and say something like that made him feel that much more comfortable. Here's Dahl's reaction when Cargo went deep. So leadoff base hit. Wilmer Flores to the plate. Get a distance on that yet, by the way?
Stand by.
On the outside corner at 94, strike from Ottavino.
In a lot of the StatCast stuff, if people are wondering at home where we get a lot of this information, and we do these reads all the time, the MLB.com app has a lot of the StatCast information, and yes, it's 448 feet with a 22-degree launch angle.
Should be two. Nolan bobbles, got to go to first, and they'll get the out there. So Walker to second. That'll bring up Cabrera with one out. The day after every Rockies win, get 50% off your online order at Papa John's. Use the promo code ROCKSWIN at papajohns.com. Corey Sullivan this past week has gained 11 pounds, courtesy of Papa John's. Cabrera's 0 for 3, 2 pop-outs and a strikeout. Good pitch.
The New York Mets season ticket holder is still sitting patiently in his seat, hand on his knees, other hand on his face. It's almost a reverse thinker pose where he looks like he's ready to explode and yell, shaking his head constantly.
His wife finally just said something to him. This is in the air to right center field. Pretty well hit. And making the catch out there in the middle of the track is Blackman. 2 outs. Well, tomorrow, a couple of guys that have been around the block a couple of times. One guy's been around the block like a whole bunch. 35-year-old Jorge De La Rosa for the Rockies against 43-year-old Bartolo Colon. Colon is still doing his thing. 9-5, 3.35 ERA, and save one rough outing since returning to the rotation. De La Rosa's been outstanding. That'll be the pitching matchup tomorrow night here in Flushing Meadows. Michael Conforto at the plate with 2 outs. And the breaking ball's in there for a strike. Conforto 0 for 1. He's walked twice. Against Chatwood both times. Tyler went 7 innings. Strike at the knees. Rockies up 6-1. Need one more strike. How about this turnaround for the Rockies against the Mets? They're on the cusp of going 5-0 this year, Spilly. Last year they went 0-7.
They just broke the 10. They lost 10 straight at Citi Field. They're about to go back-to-back. This is a team that was National League champion. And they are playing far better than this team that, with all the high expectations this offseason, with the rotation, obviously they lost Matt Harvey, but with Syndergaard and Matz. The Rockies have played some of their best baseball against this New York team.
One and two on Conforto. 2-2. You know, they went through that period where they were playing teams that had been struggling. The Atlanta Braves, Tampa, lost 2 of 3 at home to Tampa. Came back with the 4-game sweep of Atlanta. So a 5-2 homestand. And then they were going out and they were playing teams well above 500. So far, so good. Here's the 2-2. On the outside corner, just off, 3-2.
Vino trying to get the backdoor slider, trying to see if he can sneak it around. Nick Hundley holds that well, but Chris Guccione sees that it's off the plate quite a bit.
And another slider fouled off.
Sure, it's got to be super special for a lot of Adam Ottavino's family that is in the stands, given the fact that he has had to battle back from Tommy John surgery.
Two outs, runner at seconds, Neil Walker, 3-2 on Michael Conforto. Ground ball right at Nolan. He's got it, and that's the ball game. The Rockies win again, 6-1 in New York over the Mets, and now they're a game from 500 at 51-52. Mark Reynolds a home run, Cargo the home run, and a 4 RBI night. Best thing in baseball, watching your team shake hands at the end of the ball game. The Rockies tomorrow an opportunity to get back to 500 for the first time since they were 21-21 on May 21st. Tyler Chatwood turned around his night. He becomes the Rockies' first 10-game winner as he goes 7 strong, a run on 3 hits tonight. Again, he's now 10-6. Great outing as well for Scott Oberg. He's our Jimmy John's delivery of the game provider. In the 8th inning, he inherited 2 runners with nobody out. The crowd was on its feet. First pitch, he gets a roller to third for the force out. Next pitch, Cespedes at the plate. Everybody's standing. He fouls out to Mark Reynolds. The very next pitch is a ground ball.